It's a great day. My name is Shay Brown, the Happy Entrepreneur, and welcome to the Happy Entrepreneur Show, the number one business development and revenue focused late night show in the country where we're on a mission. And our mission really is to inspire. Our mission is to really empower. And our mission is to provide you, the entrepreneur, the hardworking entrepreneur, really, with all of the resources that are necessary to execute that big vision you have for the people you were called to serve. And on this particular episode, we have the one and only Sharon Baker-Boykin, who's in the building, and she'll be talking about business estate planning. What's going on, Sharon? How are you?
I am fine, Mr. Brown, and thank you for allowing me to participate on your show. I'm looking forward to it.
Welcome, Mr. Brown. Can I just be Shay? Can I just be
Okay.
Shay Brown? I mean, Mr. My
And I'm
dad, I don't know where that
Sharon.
joke is. I'm just messing with you. I couldn't resist that. So why don't we address the elephant in the room, which is why are we still having a conversation in this time in history about being prepared when you leave here? So I guess the biggest question is, what's your experience on why a number of people just don't get their affairs in order? What's the big struggle?
You know, and it's interesting too, because it's not something that we want to talk about, number one. And sometimes we fall into these myths. Some people believe that, well, if I do a will, I'm telling God I'm ready to go. The problem is with that statement is that we all have a date. We don't know when it's going to happen, whether you have a will or not, or your estate plan or not. We have a date. And then some think, well, I don't really, none of my stuff is really that expensive or important. And so I don't need to deal with it. But I guarantee that no matter what you have, somebody would love it and would want it. It's not about how much it costs. It's still your stuff. And then there's this third myth that says, well, it costs too much to do estate planning. It actually costs more when you die without having a plan in place. Because I'm a licensed attorney here in the state of Georgia, and you just have so many different expenses and steps to follow through and money to be paid out in cost and fees when someone dies without having their plan in place. And then when I looked at some of the statistics, which really were crazy, 61% of whites, 67% of English-speaking Asians, 77% of Blacks, and 82% of Hispanics die without an estate plan. And we spend all of our life getting all this stuff. We have houses, cars, bank accounts, businesses. And why we don't put something in place, I don't know.
Now, one of the things you talk about, thanks for sharing, is you talk about helping folks get rid of the legal chaos and really find some sense of harmony or clarity. Two-part question. Number one, when you use the word chaos, chaos means different things to different people. So take a moment and kind of explain what you mean by chaos by going through the process so we can kind of get a visual of it, if you would, and then how you help bring clarity to that.
Okay. Well, let me start with this, Shay. I'm going to list a couple of names and see if you recognize any of these individuals, okay? Jimi Hendrix.
Yes.
Bob Marley.
Yes.
Sonny Bono.
Yes.
Prince.
Yes.
Abraham Lincoln.
Barry White. Jesus. Yes.
Tupac Shakur. Chadwick Boseman.
Yes.
John Denver. Marvin Gaye.
Yes.
What do they all have in common?
I'm going to guess they didn't have a will or estate plan.
Absolutely. They died without having a plan in place. And one of the things when I say kind of chaos is that we spend all of our life gathering and acquiring stuff and being successful, but we can't take any of these items that we've acquired during our lifetimes with us. So you have two choices. One, will you make a decision of who you're going to leave all of this stuff to? Or two, will you let your state determine who gets your stuff? And if you are a person that values your privacy, you need to do something versus you letting your estate do something. How did I know about all these names, Shay?
How?
Because part of the process when you die without an estate plan, someone has to come forward asking to be in charge of your estate. It may be the last person you want involved in your business and knowing now the ins and outs of what you have. And it costs for that person to file an action with the probate court, asking to be the administrator. Now, it could be one person or multiple people. Now you're fighting over who's going to be in charge. But that person gets paid out of your estate to do this job. And after that person files that petition asking to be named the administrator, the very next step is that we have to run a notice in the newspaper alerting the world that you died without an estate plan. And do you have, if someone has a claim against your estate, a creditor or whomever, a child that nobody knew about but a few people, everybody's not coming out because they want a slice of the pie. And that's when I said the chaos, because people are arguing, they're fighting, and with nothing in writing, now you're having to use the laws in your state to determine who gets what. And I'm going to use Georgia because I'm licensed here in Georgia. But the person is, let's say, if you are legally married. Now, I use the word legally, not that you were shacking up and living with somebody. No, you got to be, now in Georgia, you got to be legally married to that spouse. And if you have just a spouse and no children, the spouse gets 100%. You have a spouse and one child, they're going to split it 50-50. You have a spouse and two children, everybody gets a third. If you have more than two children, your spouse gets no less than 1/3. And then all those children share in the remaining 2/3. And I say you got 5 children, 6 children, 7, 8, 9, 10, and they all don't get along. It's going to be real interesting with them arguing over stuff. And then again, that administrator getting paid to handle different things. And so that's what I mean by the chaos. It doesn't have to be, because again, you're already sad that your person has passed away. Now you're going to be even mad at the rest of the family members who are left because of the fighting.
Wow. And if there was never a divorce, I guess the person that you never divorced is still legally the wife. Is that how it works?
Yes.
So let me ask this question, if I can, as you're sharing about a little bit of background. Thanks a lot. Everyone hasn't read your bio. So some folks, they read your bio. Some folks have Googled you. Some folks have looked you up. And there's other folks that, they're working right now. They might be in the kitchen cooking. Somebody might have you playing on a laptop right now while they're doing other things. They're like, okay, Shay, this sounds good, but who in the LL Cool J is this woman that's talking, number one? And number two, what's her backstory, Shay? Slow down for a moment. I want to know, why she's so passionate about this. Why should we listen to her? So here's the question, the two-part question. Number one, who are you? So we know who you are. And what's your backstory that led you to this defining moment where you're like, you know what? I'm all in making sure that estates are properly planned.
Well, again, my name is Sharon Baker-Boykin. In fact, in 2024, next year, or whenever you're looking at this video, this podcast, I will be a licensed attorney in the state of Georgia for 40 years. I've done a lot of things in my legal career. I've been in private practice where I did estate planning as well as family law. I was a magistrate court judge. I've been a prosecutor, an assistant district attorney. I've been a special assistant attorney general. I've worked in state government. I was the unemployment insurance tax chief. I was the disability adjudication director. And I've worked in county government and probate court administrator. Now, why is this topic so important and I'm passionate about it? My personal story. My dad, Charlie Baker, died the Friday before Father's Day in 2018. And that day will stick with me for the rest of my life because I saw him the week before. We said, Dad, we're going to be back next week to go to church with you for Father's Day. But he died the Friday before Father's Day. Now, that was in June of 2018. I had a family member to die in July, August, September, October, November, December, January of 2019. You get to the point where you don't even want to answer the phone because, and not everybody had their stuff in order. They lived all over the country. And so we were either going to a funeral or, connecting with family members every month from June of 2018 through January of 2019. And then in May of 2019, a couple of months later, I was the first probate court administrator here in DeKalb County, Georgia, which means now I'm working for the court, which it oversees estates, whether you die with the will or without, having a guardianship, power of attorney, those family issues. So I was looking at it from the inside with all of my family members who were dying. And now here I am as a probate court administrator, seeing what's really on the books in the state of Georgia to deal with someone when they prepare something and when they don't prepare something. And I had just started writing books, and my sister told me, you need to write a book about all of this. Don't use those fancy legal words that you lawyers love to use that we don't know what in the heck y'all are talking about. So what I ended up doing was I wrote a book, which is mainly a workbook, that's called Help Me Get My Stuff in Order, where I want people to look at their stuff, you writing in it, because it is a workbook for you to now look at everything you have and you start making some decisions about what's going to happen to it. And when you finish, now we're ready to either get an attorney involved to get that will done, or a trust, or some other avenue to protect that stuff that you've acquired. And one more story, Shay, when I was a younger attorney, back early in my career, I had a client to come and see me. She was in her mid-80s. She brought me 10 sheets of notebook paper where she wrote out everything she owned and who she wanted to leave it to. Now, when I say everything, I'm talking about sheets, towels, dishes, hats, jewelry, pocketbooks, shoes, everything she had. She described it, what color it was, and she had a person's name who she wanted to leave it to. And her comments to me was, please don't laugh at me. I have been in too many other family situations that people have died without a will. When it is my time, I don't want any mess. I'm going to determine who gets all this stuff. So again, that's why I say it's not about the value. It was her stuff. And when she came back to sign and get her will finalized, she left out of the office smiling. She said, now I can go and enjoy the rest of my life, because when my time comes, there won't be any more mess about who's getting my stuff. So I said, I think she probably has been the smartest client I've had in those 40 years of being a licensed attorney, because she took the time in her mid-80s to sit down and write out everything that she owns. So this workbook that I have, it gives you that same power to look at what you have and to make some notes on what do you want to have happen to this stuff when your time comes.
Wow. Well, thank you for all that you're doing, by the way. That's a very, very powerful, as you was mentioning, why you do what you do. So for those folks that are listening right now, I mean, I know there's folks all over the world that are watching. They might be saying, okay, Shay, now she said this. My number one question, Shay, is if I have to go sit down with someone, just like Sharon, and get them to help me, what are 1, 2, or 3 things that I should look for? Now, obviously, if you're in Georgia, you know where to look up. She's right there in Georgia. But you might be curious. Like, I'm in Washington, D.C. You might be somewhere else. Maybe you're in Jackson, Mississippi. Maybe you're in Los Angeles, California. Maybe you're in San Antonio, Texas. You might be thinking, man, what's 1 or 2 or 3 questions I should ask someone to kind of help me feel comfortable, that I'm choosing someone that's going to really do what I need to get done. Any suggestions or recommendations?
Absolutely. As an attorney and with all the things that I've done in my career, I also have a business and where I am a legal life coach. So they can still get in contact with me no matter where they are in the US. And we can do a Zoom meeting and a consultation and go through what their situation is. And I will help them to determine when all the dust is settled, what do you want it to look like? Are you looking at just a will? Are you looking at a trust? There are many different types. And there may be other things that you can do other than a will or a trust. But then, if you have a need for an attorney and you live in another state, I'm a member of many bar associations, and I can find you several people in your city and state or close by. And what I generally do when I will send you a list of more than one person, maybe two or three, maybe as many as five. And I will say, okay, I now am clear about what it is I want to do. Help me get to the finish line. So that's what we do. I will have a consultation with you so we can kind of go through those things, your personal situation. But again, I can get you an attorney. And then some things you possibly can do on your own. You can actually do your own last will and testament. I just want to make sure that if you do it, it's done, it's legal, and everything is good. In Georgia, you must have two people to sign as witnesses to your will. So if you print it out on Google and you're going through it and you're plugging in who you're leaving stuff to, do not sign it yet until you're in front of two disinterested witnesses. And disinterested means you can't leave your card to your brother and your brother is now one of your witnesses because he is not disinterested. He has something in the will. So you can go and to the courthouse and get, I would say, get the signatures notarized. They don't have to be, but the reason why I say it pays to get all of those, yours and your two witnesses' signatures notarized, is that in Georgia, when that will does have the notary, we're going to say it's self-proving. If the signatures are not notarized, then we're going to need one of those witnesses to testify around what happened when you all signed this will. Did this person know what they were doing? So we're going to get testimony from one of your witnesses if the signatures are not notarized. So again,
Wow.
just some of the ins and outs, but I can find that information in your state. And I have had consultations with other people in different states and done talks and presentations in other states. But again, I just want to turn the light switch on so that you can do something. But even if I've given you all this information and you choose, okay, I'm not going to do anything, I'm gone, so I'll let them fight. Okay, so that's your choice too. I just hope you don't choose that option. But if it is the one that you choose, that's what your family's going to have to deal with.
Mm. What do you enjoy most about what you're doing these days?
Well, I enjoyed sharing this information, doing talks. And again, one of the things my sister Karen encouraged me to say when they're talking, again, don't use those fancy legal words. Just have a general conversation with someone because I want them to understand what's going on and their rights. And when I've had these family consultations, I've had either a husband and wife or a single person or even a family or even just groups. Generally, I rather talk to friends because then we can be real transparent and they can share with me some of the things that they really want to get an answer to. But again, I just want people to understand that this is a situation that's going to affect everybody, no matter what race, what color, if you're married or single, it is going to have an impact on you at some point in this journey called life. And because of what I went through, both from the family members who passed away, so many right back to back to back, and then working in the probate court and seeing it from a court's perspective, what happens when someone does have an estate plan in place and what happens when they don't have one in place. And, getting the information helps you to make a better decision with your life.
I love it. I admire what you're doing. I don't like being on the other side. I'm a caregiver for Mother Dear, by the way, and when they sign them papers and hand them to you, the power of attorney is like, whoa, this is something out the movies. I haven't reached this age, have I? Uh, and it's something I definitely just don't like to talk about myself. I'm probably the only one. I'm sure all of you out there are comfortable with it, but it's something I just don't like to talk about. I just don't. But my father passed away. He didn't have anything, so we was there to bless to write a check and make sure things were covered for him. But he didn't have anything. Mother did is a different story. So what you're
think
doing
about
is
this,
very
Shay.
powerful.
Most people may have life insurance.
Yeah.
And let's say you have $100,000 life insurance and you've named someone as the beneficiary. Don't assume that beneficiary is going to take the money and help pay for your funeral. It could be just a windfall gift.
Yeah.
And they can
Yeah.
keep their mouth shut and don't chip in any of that money to pay for your funeral.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I had a friend that went through a situation with some step siblings, and she refused for them to get copies of the birth certificate death certificate. I guess she was afraid that they had some insurance policies out, and she didn't know about it. And I'm like, how can you hold? I didn't know you could try to hold that information back, but it's
people
interesting.
act a little crazy when money is involved. And when I list those names of some important people that we know, when you think about Chadwick Boseman, the guy that played Black Panther, you get diagnosed with cancer 4 years before you pass away. You marry your girlfriend kind of close to your death, on your deathbed. He didn't have any children. There was some ugly legal fights between his parents and the wife, because they were initially alleging that the marriage was invalid. He didn't know what he was doing, because if there was no spouse, no children, the pot of gold goes to mom and dad. And so you don't want people fighting over things. And that's why I say put some things in writing, get these documents done, and don't be like Aretha Franklin. She kept her will in the cushion of her couch, the zippered cushion. One of her sons found the will there. I'm like, okay, now come on. Glad she did a will, but please, if you have one, where is it kept, so that people know where it is. And I think even James Brown, he was kept on ice for a minute because they were arguing over things. So that's the thing. Is you're already sad about the loss of the person.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have to be fighting and arguing about the stuff. What mama said or daddy said, if it's not in writing, it's going to be ugly. So please, everyone. And I do have a free ebook.
Yes, please.
I
I was getting ready to ask the question as we come down the home stretch. Two questions. One, what type of clients do you work with? I think you mentioned that. And number two, how can folks best connect with you or get something from you that can help them? So you can go ahead. This is a perfect segue for that.
I have what I offer, a free ebook at www.helpmegetmystuffinorder.com. And what I tell people, I said, okay, even in looking at this podcast, what is today's date that you're looking at it? What time is it? That's your accountability. Because again, we don't know when our date and time is going to come. So once you hear the information and you know you need to take action, don't wait. And I would just say that's the way to get in contact with me. But again, I want to offer you something free, www.helpmegetmystuffinorder.com. And please take action. Don't delay. Get something done. And I would say start with, pencil and paper, and just start thinking of what you would want it to look like when it's said and done. Do you want a trust? Do you want a will? Do you want both? And get in contact with me again through that that free ebook website. There's a way to get in contact with me through there, and let's set up a time to talk. And I'm here to help you get your stuff in order.
Well, thank you so much. We appreciate you. Thanks for being on the Happy Entrepreneur Show.
Well, thank you for having me, even though it may not be a happy topic, but
once
you get it done, you can smile and just go now and enjoy the rest of your life. Okay. Be like my
Absolutely.
client.
No, it's a much needed topic. And thank you to viewers. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching. Without you, there is no show. So we appreciate every comment, every like, every time you pay this forward and you share this with someone else. And I never get tired every night at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time sharing with you that you are special, that you are so awesome, that you are so amazing, that no matter what you're going through, today is your January 1st. And that past no longer equals the future. I believe for you, your best is still yet to come. Your best is yet to come. Your best yet to come. With that being said, my name, well, hasn't changed. It's still Shay Brown, the Happy Entrepreneur. Make it a great day, everyone. And I promise you from the bottom of my heart, we'll make some good things out and we connect again next time. Thanks a lot, Sharon. We out. Peace.
Thank you.